Hey guys, this is Al. It's Saturday the 30th of March. Can you believe we're already at April almost? So today is Bentley Day, or rather Bentley 2 days, because I'll probably be working on these cars over the whole weekend. So where I'm standing right now is usually where my 97 Turbo R sits. It's at home, but I've been dealing with a problem on that car that's it obviously made me nervous, right? Because I had that issue with the Azure, and I smashed into the, where the brakes failed, and I smashed into the Jensen, and ruined a perfectly good grill on a very rare car. But anyway, what I'm getting is a brake pressure warning light that would just stay on continuously, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was until last weekend when I bled the brakes. I just wanted to make sure that everything was fine. Checked the fluid level was right up where it should be. And then I figured out that if I mashed the pedal really hard, the brake light would go away. And it'll be fine for the rest of the day until, I shut the engine off for a period of time, and then I run into the same problem. So, posted a couple of messages on the forum, and one of the guys came back and he said it could be the brake pressure switch, which is located under the hood on the passenger side on a left-hand drive car. And sure enough, when I pulled the covers off, one of them was a little bit leaking. So what I'm going to do is, there is a diaphragm kit that you can buy, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Azure, which is effectively a parts car. That's the Mulliner Azure, the fire damage one. And I'm going to see if I can grab a couple of the pressure switches from that car and see if I can swap them over, because the fire was on the other side of the engine. So they should be okay. We'll find out. And then I'm also going to work on the Brooklands. Now, what basically happened is after the fuel pump died, I replaced the fuel pump, and then when I tried to run the car, it would refuse to start. And it took a while to get it going, and I added fuel, and then eventually, I thought, well, the fuel must be so bad that the car is not wanting to start. So I drained all the fuel, and then I added some fresh gas. But it's still running a little bit rough. There's a miss, and there's also a blue smoke on revving up, which, not blue, grey or blue smoke, I don't know. But what it seems to me like is it's not burning gas very well. So that could still mean that there's bad gas, and it could also it could also mean that there's a problem with the plugs, right? They got fouled. So I'm going to pull the plugs on a couple of the plugs at least, see what kind of shape they're in, clean them, and then put them back and see if that helps any. And if it does, then I may take the car out and kind of just shake it down. It's got about 10 gallons of fresh gas in it. So, I think what I did is I drained most of the old gas out, but there's still the last bit that's on, at the bottom. And usually, if the ethanol and the gas started deteriorating and it turns into water, the water would sit at the bottom of the tank. So I think that might be the problem. So I'm going to mess with it for a bit, see if I can figure that out. And if I can, then I'll give it a good shakedown and hopefully it'll solve the problem. So turns out Sinjin, the 2000 Azure Mulliner, the fire was on that side, so I didn't really want to use the valves. So I stole it from the 10,000 mile Continental R, the one that was in the landslide. And this thing looks brand spanking new. So what I'll do is I'll try to swap this one over and see what it does. So that's where I am. Next step, I'm going to go and pull the plugs out, and I'll show you what they look like. And hopefully I can get them cleaned with a wire brush, and it'll get the car to run a little bit better. Alright guys, so here's the plug. It's disgusting. I'm going to try to clean it up as much as I can, but I'll probably replace these plugs. They're, I think the valve cover is also leaking because there's oil all over the plug, which didn't come from inside the cylinder, it came from outside. So yeah, I'll clean this up and see if it makes it run better, but I'm planning on replacing these because they're in horrible shape. I just need to get the numbers for them so that I can get them replaced. Hey guys, so I reinstalled the the plugs, and the car's still running rough, which is to be expected. I didn't have my Omnitech with me at the shop, so I used my Autel using the OBD2 port, and it was able to read some information. You could see the store codes. There was a whole bunch of them, which you tend to expect when a car's running pretty bad. The ones that I'm most concerned about pertain to the O2 sensor, because if the O2 sensor is not reading right, then it's going to feed back information to the computer that's going to cause it to not read right as well. And that has me a little bit concerned. So what I did next is I flipped over to the live data to see if I could get some readings from the various systems. And the Autel was able to actually report some pretty interesting information. It was pretty comprehensive compared to what I would expect. It takes a while to update because it's an older version of the Autel. It's a 708, but you could see that some of the codes were coming up. The one that I was most concerned about was the O2 sensor readings. It was showing bank 1 sensor 1 and bank 1 sensor 2, and they were both reading exactly the same voltage, the 1.275 volts on both sides. So I was wondering what that issue is. I'm not sure exactly what that problem would be, but obviously, you know, the sensors are reading constantly, which they should always be fluctuating, and that would either be caused by a full run rich condition, that the computer is basically pegging out the sensor because it's running rich, or the sensor is malfunctioning and therefore giving the computer some bad information. I've posted that message to the forum. Hopefully they should have some ideas and get that back to me, but that's where I am right now with the Brooklands, and I'll move over to the Turbo R and start working on the brake pressure system afterwards.
Hey guys, this is Al again. I'm over at the house this time, and I'm up by the 97 Turbo RL. So I'm going to try to figure out which one of those pressure pumps is causing the problem, like the pressure switches rather, is causing the problem. So I did buy a gauge. I found an old breaker. It's not an old one, it's a new one that I bought for that Silver Shadow that I was working on, that had exactly the same thread as the brake switch. So I think that I could use that to measure the pressure. Addison Airport is not that far away from me, so sometimes you hear jets taking off. So I think I can use that to measure the pressure, but the first thing I've got to do is identify which of the switches is causing me a problem. So let me show you what I have right now. So this is a pressure gauge that I made. I just had to buy an adapter that would take a 1/4 inch fitting, which is what the pressure gauge has, to a 1/8 fitting, which is what's on the brake hose. And then on the other side, this fitting fits right in. I also made a little wire, and what I'm going to use that for is to ground the electrical connection on the pressure switches, because one of these is obviously not working. So by grounding out the switch, if I'm able to turn the light off when I physically grind out one of the switches, then I'll know which one is the problem pressure switch. So if neither of the lights go out, then maybe they're both bad, but I don't think that that's the case. And if that is the case, then it could be something else that's different, completely different. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to run the engine. You'll see the pressure warning stay on, and then I'm going to go one by one and turn these lights off. And the reason I think the problem is this guy over here, this one, and the reason for that is that it's actually wet inside this wire, whereas this one's bone dry. So this one's obviously been leaking, and there was a bunch of wetness around it as well beforehand, but I cleaned that out. You can still see a little bit of shine on the rings. So you see the brake pressure light's already on. what I did is I connected this little wire and grounded it to the black wire on this plug, and I was able, you see it should be on right now. I was able to turn the lights on. Now if I plug it back in, should hopefully see the lights go back on, and they have. So that would indicate to me that the problem is that particular switch, right? Or maybe not the switch in itself, although I do think it's a switch, but it could be, you know, that system 1, system 2, I'm not sure exactly which system that is. There's a diagram there, but in any case, that's the one that's given the problems. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the engine off, and I'm going to try to depressurize the system. Technically, one of those should still trigger the warning, the second pressure switch. So if I just So that's 115 pumps, right? And now I've got the brake pressure warning. Alright, so I've got the pressure switch off. I was able to undo that little bleed valve, which I think didn't see any fluid come out of it, so I knew that the pressure was all the way down. I'm going to install the gauge and then see if I can check the pressure. So I've got this little gauge over here. This, if you look at them, they're both flared. You can see that they're both flared. So I should be able to screw this guy in. So we're right around 2300 psi. So I just gave 10 pumps in the brake pedal and one long pump. System went back down to about 2100 psi and then came back up. So I think the brakes are fine. So with the engine off, system's still holding pretty good pressure. We've gone around 2200, 2250 psi. Alright, so 40 pumps got me down to about 1050 psi. Alright, so 100 pumps, I'm down to 0. Alright, so everything is back on. I used a little bit of deoxit to clean the connections. I'm just going to put that little boot over the bleeder screw and then we'll crank the car. Look at the leaks. No leaks. Hopefully in about 20 seconds or so, oh forget 20 seconds, light's already gone out. So that's a very positive event. Alright guys, so it looks like the pressure switch solved the problem. The light went out pretty much right away, which is great. You know, normally nothing ever gets done on the weekend with these cars, but had a good result. Also got myself a nice little tool, again cobbled together from parts from the old Silver Shadow. So yeah, altogether, I mean, it was a successful one. Seems like that problem's been solved. I will head back either today or tomorrow evening and pull the injectors, make sure that the injectors on the Corniche, the part numbers match the ones that I'm trying to buy at Worldpack, which I think are, anyway, I'll give you the code for them, the part numbers, once I pull them and know for sure. And I'll also get the spark plugs figured out as well for the Brooklands. So this is it for me for this weekend. I think I'm done. I'll send you an update sometime during the week. Thank you very much. Take care.